Right, so access limits, how do they work? Um, so just to point off the bat, within Master Fader, um, you can't control the access limits of another device from your device. So if you're the mix engineer and you want to be able to limit the access of the individuals that are musicians, for example, that are doing their own monitor mix, there's no way within Master Fader that you can go into that particular individual's software on their phone or their tablet and start limiting their functionality. What you need to do is you need to take their actual device itself, go into the access limits on there. So you do that by going into settings, access limits, and then you would limit them by actually stopping them from accessing what you don't want them to access. Now, there's a quick way of doing this: is rather than going in and clicking on everything individually, if you know that they're a musician and they just want access to their mix, just go on all on. You can do all off and it takes everything off. But you just go in all on. And here's my tip to you for what basic things you need to give them access to. You need to give them access to their mix, of course. So you'd give them access to their mix. And the next thing that you need to give them access to is uh, channel mutes so that they can mute and unmute the channels that they have. If it's a what you call it, um, if it's a stereo mix, you'll want to give them access to panning so that they can actually pan. So, i.e., it's a drum and they want to be able to hear what's left and right or repan their mix. Do so. Obviously, and I'll show you in a second what you need to do on their actual aux mix as well to allow them to allow it to not interfere with your mix. Um, then the next thing that you need to give them access to, and this is quite important, is devices. If you don't give them access to devices, they aren't actually going to be able um, to find the actual. They won't have the ability to be able to log in and find their aux mix when they access Master Fader. So if you give them access to devices, then they'll be able to actually do so. So yeah, if it's an aux mix, then these are sort of the things you're sort of looking to give them access to. Um, Now, obviously, because you're giving them access to channel muting, and you're also giving them access to pan, what you need to do. Oh yeah, sorry. Before you do that, you have to lock it. So you can stick in a code. I'm just going to put in 0000 here because this is just for illustration purposes. And you'll see straight away that this is the functionality they'll have. There's nothing here under panning because I selected a single aux. However, if I've linked over aux 1 to 2, for example, you'd have then seen the panning feature, which looks exactly the same like the panning feature on the main left and right. But this is the mix that they'll have access to. They have the FX there. They've got the return. So this is if they want to listen to any music coming back from, say, the computer, YouTube, or whatever music playing on the computer. They want to listen to that for themselves. They can do so by turning off the aux return there. And then they've got the 32 channels, and they've got the ability to mute. So to stop them from messing with your mix is here. If you've got use left and right mute ticked, when they mute it here, it's gonna mute it in the front of house and everywhere else as well. So you need to untick use left and right mute, and then you see automatically change the name to aux mute. So if we say use left and right mute, it's just mute. So if you ever see a musician's mix and it says just mute, it means if you mute that channel in the front of house, it's going to mute it on their mix and vice versa. So if you change it to use left and right mute, all of a sudden they have access to that aux mix. And then they can just mute it for themselves, and it's only muting the aux mute as opposed to everything else. The second thing you want to do is you want to make it pre-fader. If you make it post-fader, anything you change on the main left and right will change the details here. But if you set it to pre-fade, it means they can make these changes on their channels pre the main fader, and the main fader's movements won't affect this particular mix here. if you put in pre-DSP, it means they won't have any effects. So they won't be able to hear any reverb or EQ or etc. So don't put in pre-DSP. So that's pretty much it, really. Um, this is what you need to look out for. And then if you ever needed to make changes to what they have access to, you just click on that padlock, type in your secret code, and boom, all of a sudden you're back. Then you can just have all off, and you've got access to the full mix again. I'll just quickly show you what I meant by the stereo mix. So I'm going to link aux1 over to aux2, and then you see you've got panning there straight away. And then again, if you limit their access, well, we can do it, why not? If you limit their access, you go into their device. I usually do it this way because it's easier. So what did we say? They're aux1 and 2. Obviously, make sure that you do both aux1 and 2, otherwise they won't have that stereo feel. Even though you've linked it over there, just simply giving them access to aux1 won't give them the access they need. So you have to give them both auxes here. I mean, it makes sense, but I just thought I'd point that out. So channel mutes, panning, and devices, and then boom. And then all of a sudden, there you go. You've got the mute. So before we just had the, sorry, you'll have the panning. Before we just had the mute. Now we've got the panning as well. And that's aux1 to aux2. That's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else that you'd need to do when you're doing this, other than the fact that you need to remember your code. Yeah, I'm saying that because I've forgotten it in the past. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks.